For those of you joining us at home on recording, we'll need 2 blocks, strap, blanket, and a hairstyle that accommodates the microphone. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let's take a pose that feels right for this morning. So that could be seated upright, eyes open or closed. It could be child's pose. And this is your practice, so you can return to a resting pose when as needed, and you can face whatever direction feels right to you this morning. Outwards, inwards, facing me, facing away. Just start by taking the hands to the tops of the thighs or the arms and just rubbing, pushing, flowing that energy down and into the tissue. So you feel a little bit of pressure. Your body can focus on the pressure, be curious about the contact. It's going to be slow, or if you go faster, it's a little more stimulating. Maybe kneading. And then if you've done the legs, we can do the arms, can massage the neck, shoulder area. Moving through the whole arm. It's not exactly important like what you do. It's more just coming back into the body. Oh, right. This tissue has needs. This tissue is here and available. And maybe it can hold for us, and maybe we can drop into it. And maybe it's really good at acting as a container for us. It's really experienced. And then we'll just shake out the arms if that feels good. This could be fast or slow. Could be like you're trying to get something sticky off your hands. Throw in some open-mouthed exhales. And we'll just jiggle the hands to feel so many bones in there, such dexterity available to us. Wiggling the fingers, moving them in ways that you can start to feel all these minute articulations. It's incredible sophistication in the fingers. And then maybe rubbing the pads of the fingers against one another in a very fine way. Feeling the skin and how very sensitive it is. Tuning into the subtlety and the smallness of that movement. Great, and then we'll come to hands and knees. Blanket is available under the knees. And take a moment to root through the 4 corners here of the body. Right now, that will be the palm of each hand and the knee of each leg. So sink those pillars, those columns of yourself deep into the earth. And let the spine hammock. So we're going to let it swoop down and be soft and loose. We're letting go through the spine and standing on the four corners of the body. Just going to check and make sure that one client isn't trying to get in through the back door here. All right. She'll figure it out. Good. And then almost like a gust of wind comes up from underneath you. It fills the sail of your spine, and the spine can press up and round towards the ceiling. And let it do that softly. Let the skin of your back body stretch. And we can do a very gentle shifting forward so the weight comes into the fingertips and the sail stays full and it's catching the wind. And then a little shift to rock backwards. Only go about halfway to your heels. And then very good. We'll shift back to neutral. Let the spine hammock. The wind comes out of the sails and you're in relative stillness, buoyant, floating in the vast sea. One of those shapes is going to call to you a little bit more than the other today. You're invited now to move through each of them in due time, lingering or pausing and holding. You could rock forward and back, or you could just do the cat-cow. Let yourself be absorbed into the shape. And if you know the Ujjayi breath, that's the wind, that's prana, that's life itself. Yep, and that whispering sound fills the body. Good. Again, linger, stay, explore, or shift into some circling here. If the wrists get tender, you put your hands up on blocks or come to fists as you steer the body as though you were tracing the size of about a hula hoop. Reversing the circle at any point. And as you circle, maybe you're a little rounded, maybe you're just sinking through the spine, maybe you're floating at a buoyant neutral, neither sinking nor rising. Good. We'll come down to the forearms and we'll wiggle the pelvis from one side to the other. So you should kind of press the pelvis off to your right. Hopefully you'll feel a stretch on the inside of your left thigh. And then as your pelvis shifts over towards your left leg, the right inner thigh is what we're looking for in terms of stretch. Okay, we'll feel that back and forth a few times, linger, or just keep moving. Distracted by sensation, occupied by sensation. And by the contact of your body against the floor. We'll even flip the palms down and do a little circling here, hovering very close to the floor. Letting all those points of contact come alive against your skin, under your hands, forearms, knees, even the tops of your feet. Good. And then we'll narrow the knees. If they widened, stretch your right leg back. The foot's on the floor, toes are tucked under. Going for a calf stretch. You might prefer to be at straight arms. I don't care. Whatever works for you in the moment. Change your mind as often as you want. Pulse back through that heel. These are your kangaroo bits here. These are your jumping, leaping, elastic parts. This is your rebound. Literally the parts of you that are so good at rebounding. Switch legs. Pulse through the heel. Knee is softly unlocked. Try to feel your calf muscle, your Achilles. Wonderful. And we'll turn to face me, please, and fold your blanket so that when we kneel on it for Parigasana, the gate pose, the blanket needs to be high enough for us to find level in the pelvis. So I'm going to start kneeling on my right knee. I'm mirroring you with my left leg out to the side. And good, exactly. Yep. So now the blanket has to be high enough. If the kneeling leg, if that's lower, just fold your blanket one more time. Yeah, you might have to fold yours one more time. Kim, you might have to fold yours one more time if it's not too much hassle. Good. And the back edge, the pinky edge of your straight leg foot, that's parallel to the short edge of the mat. Good. Take the hands behind the head. Elbows reach up high, starting to lengthen out through the triceps, side of the ribs. Reach those up one at a time. Good. And then we'll take it into a little side bend towards the straight leg. And then with a toned core, away from the straight leg. Good. Release the arms, we'll cross them in front. Doesn't matter the cross. Take a little bit of rounding, and now we'll do the same pose, but with a little more rounding. You can turn your chest slightly towards the floor, slightly up towards the ceiling. And then we come upright and tip the other way again, a little rotation towards the floor and away. And come upright, release the hands down, walk them forward, kind of like downward dog, but on your fingertips. Send your butt out behind you. Exactly. Good. If you're flexible in the low back, you're adding some core here, supporting yourself. Looking for a long stretch to the straight leg inner thigh. Okay. I'll do a quarter turn to your right and lengthen out through maybe the right side body, maybe a deeper stretch through the right thigh. And then we'll walk towards the straight leg with the upper body. The further we walk towards that leg, point the left foot so it turns out. You might be rocked up on the heel. Yep. We don't have to get all the way to the foot, just starting to get into the hamstring. Good. Blocks are here on the under the hands. If the floor is too far, we'll come back a little bit towards center and point and flex the straight leg foot. That's okay. It happens. Point, flex, rocking up on the heel of the straight leg and then working it down. That's working inner thigh hamstring complex here. Ugh, they're brutally connected. This is such a rich area. We walk a little bit more towards the foot. If you can continue your pointing and flexing, great. You might have to, if you lift up a little taller with a straighter arm, it's more tolerable. If you happen to be tight in the inner thighs and hamstrings. Yes, some people are not, but yeah, these inner thighs, after last night, all of our inner thighs should be fairly tight. Good. I'm going to walk, hobble back to center, softly drag your straight leg in. You can kneel on your blanket and do a little cat cow. Yes, the sighing exhale can be really helpful. All right, we'll reposition the blanket on the mat so you can try gate pose on the other side. First, we angle the straight leg foot so that the pinky edge is parallel to the short edge of your mat. Pelvis fairly level here, as close as we can get it. And the thigh relatively perpendicular to the floor. Doesn't have to be perfect. Hands are behind the head. We're getting a little bit towards spinal curves here. It might feel better for you to do your side bending this way, or it might feel pinchy and irritating. Okay, so we're noticing, does this feel like, oh, that's just a nice clean stretch through the inner arm, the chest, side body, or does it feel pinchy in the neck and the back? Okay. Coming upright, we'll cross the arms and we're in our little Garudasana now. And then how does this feel? Just feel better. This is a stretch for the upper back as we side bend. A little roll towards the floor, a little roll towards the ceiling. Let go. Downward dog arms. Remember, hands on blocks or arms not quite as far out in front of you makes this more moderate. You're going to take your time exploring, moving through the whole spectrum of sensation. Walking the hands from one end to the other, lingering where you get some good juiciness, some feedback. And we'll walk any amount that's tolerable towards the straight leg. That's when we pivot up onto the heel. And then point flex with the arms stretched out or directly underneath you if it's intense. Bring that back leg forward, Peter, please, towards me. Yep, good 6 inches. Even spin the straight leg in the socket, a little more internal rotation. That's when your toes and your knees face me. External rotation, the knee and the toes face the ceiling or even the wall behind you. Have we chosen to suffer? That's kind of what life is. And just embodiment is a lot of suffering. Expected joy, hoped for joy, and then you wake up and that's not the case. And then we are so incredibly skillful at enduring, buckling down, and doing what needs to be done. So we come back to center, both knees underneath you, maybe a child's pose, maybe a cat cow, curl into a ball. Find some relief, sink into your points of contact. And now, once you've rested, let's find a way to sit. I'm going to sit in Virasana, which is a kneeling pose, but you can sit cross-legged up on a blanket or not. Just do a brief pranayama breath exercise. So there's no magical way to sit. We just sit in a way that accommodates our bodies best. Good. So we'll imagine that a gnat has flown up our nose and we have to just Kleenex in the middle of the room so we can blow out with that. So we'll do this very slowly. So we'll probably do 3 to 5 forceful exhales. Yes. And it, tis the season to then have to, use a Kleenex, which is fine. Okay. So we'll do the 3 times. I suggest going slowly. After that, whenever you want to stop at the 3rd one or the 5th one, you'll take a deep breath in and hold it in. And just hold it as comfortably as you can. It will be uncomfortable, but you'll hold it in and just be calm. Okay, I'm going to talk you through it no matter what. All right. So we'll inhale through the nose, exhale, blow the gnat out. Passive inhale. Maybe that's your last one. Take a deep inhale. Fill up completely without exhaling. See if you can relax the outer body. The balloon, so to speak, relaxes around the air that's being held within. The belly's taut, it's not full and wide. You'll bring your right hand up to your right thumb up to your right nostril and close that nostril off, not the whole side of the nose, just the aperture. When you're ready to exhale, softly, silently let the breath out. Belly pulls back. Release your hand, natural breathing, effortless. Keep the skin of your balloon really soft. Feel in your eyes and your face where it still might be taut and tight and straining. Let that go. Good. So being skillful with what we let go and what we take in, we will again do the forceful exhalation at your speed. We're going to do like 3 rounds of this. This is our 2nd round. I want your inhale to not be forced. I don't want you to pull it in. So silent, soft. Okay, so that's what we're focusing on this time. When you're ready, maybe hold the breath in. Now take a big full breath. Hold it in, soften the balloon. Soften in your face without letting the breath out at all. Let go, let go, let go, let go, and still hold that fullness within. Cover the opposite nostril, covering whichever one is the 2nd one. And then when you're ready, the belly pulls in to exhale. Reside in a pleasant sense of emptiness here. Slow, lazy, natural, uncontrolled breath. And now we'll, for the 3rd round, stay with whatever's, if this is a lot, if it's new, just stick with the basics, right? But then if you're like, oh, this is interesting, I want to try a little extra layer, we're going to be very tall in the body. So up in your fierce proudness and retaining that through the forceful exhale. So it reduces the shudder and it reduces the violence of the letting go. So with this tall fullness, exhale when you're ready. When you're ready, full inhale. Retain the fullness, feel the tension of it, soften around the tension of this holding that's necessary. Let it go. The exhale pulls the belly in. Be the definition of softness, stillness. Open the eyes just a quarter of the way. See the lights and the shapes and the eyelashes, perhaps, and maybe a little deeper breath and a blinking, and come back to the feeling of hands on the thighs or the arms. Back into this embodiment, maybe hands on belly, back, back. Very good. So it's with all struggle and unexpected, and maybe expected phenomenon, we are challenged to grow and we're challenged to change. We can't remain the same through it. It's not allowed. So the yoga practice continually asks that of us. So we'll just focus on the shape of your spine. So we'll come back to hands and knees, blanket there if necessary. Take the Halloween cat shape where you're rounded, and I'll just touch the area of your back that's the most rounded. And you might already be familiar with this in your own body, and go ahead and just go for it, the fullest, roundest shape. So this whole area right here is the roundest. It's like the size of a lunchbox. It's below your scapula. It's not really your upper back, it's your mid back. Okay. And this is the similar area. It's a little lower, definitely below the shoulder blades. It goes all the way to the bottom of the ribs. It's wide and about a hand's breadth across. That's the fullest area. This is a good, let's say 12 inches, almost bottom of the ribs to bottom of the shoulder blades. This is the fullest area right through here. And I think we know from you, yeah, if you really go up into it, then this is that band, and it's about 2 hands widths. Bottom edge of the scapula, but not quite all the way to the bottom of the ribs. But this is where it's the fullest. Wherever I touched you, that's where it's the fullest for you. Now I want you to sink that down towards the floor. Just let that area go. Let it go all the way down towards the floor. And then when you do that, the other more mobile parts of you, low back, neck, will arch too much. So we're going to reduce that arching a little bit more. Yeah, head up a little bit more, Susan. A little bit more, Susan. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. That's good right there. Beautiful. Good. Now just move the head, neck, low back and pelvis. Keep your upper back the same. So do a little pelvic tilt, but not letting that area that sticks up too much, not letting that go into this unconscious fullness where it just wants to go the same way it's always gone. Can you move your head up and down? Can you tilt your pelvis back and forth and change the shape of your low back without letting this area that I touched fluctuate so much? You can do that pelvic tilt, Julie, too. Yep, yep, yep. This is excellent. Good. Where you round the most will be where you round the most always in every pose. This is what's nice about the body having a habit. It's the same habit everywhere. So we'll come up to standing. We'll use blocks under the hands at first, and we'll come to a half wide-legged forward fold here. So Ardha Prasarita Padottanasana. We've got toes up, firm thighs. Toes up, quadriceps engaged, a little softness to the knee, and then widen the knees like you're on the fattest horse you've ever ridden, and then lift the butt up towards a straight leg. Now here, if we round up like a Halloween cat, feel that area where I touched each of your back, feel where it's the roundest, and then soften that down. As you soften it down, push onto the blocks, look forward, stretch out your throat, even stretch out your abdomen, sink more, Peter, through the upper back. Bend your knees more if you need to. Good. Nice. Very good. If it pinches, it's too far. Okay, so no pinching. Lift up if there's any pinching. Maybe you can turn your blocks down one notch. Peter, stay where you are. Walk your hands back underneath you. Take a slightly shorter stance. Narrower. Bend your knees a lot and then sink. Lift your chest, lift your chest, lift. That's it. That's better. Straighter your arms are, the better this will be for you. Sink, sink, sink. This is lovely. Very, very good. We're going to walk your blocks over towards your right foot and work on maintaining the same spinal shape. Now your weight will tend to go to the right foot, shift it back to the left, shift your pelvis to the left. Nice. Walk back through center, go to the other side. Keep the same spinal alignment. Shift your pelvis the opposite direction towards the opposite foot of your arms. Good. Toes are up, quadriceps engaged. Don't let the muscles relax. Come back to center. Maybe the blocks are flat. And instead of downward dog arms, they're directly underneath you. And your same spinal alignment. Good. Let's all try flat hands, not Peter. Good. Just keep sinking the back. Just go to the highest block, because I wanted that mid back to sink. Good, good. And then if you're okay there, no blocks. And now we round. And when you round, you're not letting that one area that always swells to round. You let your head go and you pull the low belly in and up. Now the head can really drop. Go for it. Perfect. This pulls up with every exhale. This, yeah, so good. Go ahead and let your head go. Do you have osteoporosis? Yeah. Yes. Osteoporosis. No. So then you can round. Bring your hands back. Go for it. Yeah. And then just easy here. Not too much more. Yeah. Balanced. Finding that balance. You can feel here how incredibly tricky it is to let go of the stuck areas and not just collapse into what always collapses open. Nice. Very good. We'll turn your left foot out 90 degrees, bring a one block with you, place the block inside your front foot. Back foot will widen that heel out slightly. Bend into your new front knee, that left knee. Elbow to your knee to keep the knee moving towards the wall away from me, behind you. Top hand to your hip. Good. And then we'll roll the chest open as you push your knee towards the wall behind you. Very nice. Good. If it pinches, you're arching. Bring some roundness into the back. Zip up the belly. Tailbone is pointing towards your back heel. Good. And then we'll bring the hands back towards the floor. Take your block with you. Walk to the other side. Parshvottanasana on the other side. Hand to the block. Elbow to knee. Push the knee open. New top hand to your hip. Roll your chest open to face me. If it pinches, you arched. Turn back towards the floor. Get some abdominal tone, some rounding, some fullness in the back body. Keep that as you twist open. Good. The bottom chest here curls in. I want you to lift. Good. Lift the chest. Lift without pinching. Should be an inner thigh stretch. Bend into your knees, Susan, a little more if you can. Bend, 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 bend. Now twist open. Does that feel okay? Keep twisting then. Keep twisting. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yes. That's it. Both hands turn to the floor. You're in a high lunge. Step back to downward facing dog or child's pose. Think of the spinal curves. Susan, take a longer stance. That will help you with the softening that upper back. Yeah, just walk your feet back. Everyone bends their knees and take the weight to your legs like you're a frog, like you're going to, I'll show you from here, Susan. Like it's like Utkatasana, like chair pose, but on the floor. Bounce your legs. Yeah. Can you get 80, 90% of your weight on your legs? Your legs should be unhappy and miserable about it. Yes. Use your legs, lengthen your spine. Use your legs, sit. Try to get your butt even with your heels. That's how far your butt has to go back. Yes. Good, 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 good. Take a break and watch me for a second. Good. So most people, when they do yoga, it's like, this is kind of a stance. It's 90% on the arms. It's too short. So we go back, but then it's still kind of on the upper body, right? So we have to bend the knees and shift, point your butt out behind you. And you can see it kind of takes all that work, excessive work, puts it back down in the legs. Okay, let's try that. Sit, sit, sit. Yep, nice. Good job. Yes, that's great. Yeah, good. Slightly shorter stance, Susan, just slightly. Longer stance, Julie. Good. Yep, Bennett. Yeah, good. Bounce, little bounce, little bounce. If it pinches anywhere, that's too arched. So you could release the chin a little bit, Susan. Fill the low back so it's a little rounder. Kim and Susan, that's good, good, good. Yes. Now, can you take your knees wide like an actual frog and shorten your stance and sit even lower? Squatting, knees out, hips low, bouncing through the legs. Good. And then point the knees straight ahead. Walk your hands back to your feet, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Lift halfway up and pause. Okay, we want a flat back. What's it going to take to get to a yeah. Oh, so good. 2 degrees more, Susan. Sink your upper back and pull your shoulders should be in line with your upper back. All we're doing is helping the body position itself to where it needs to be so it can be in balance, right? That it's not collapsing, sinking, falling. Shoulders up. Shoulders in line. Hands on the hips. Shoulders in line with the back. That might require you to firm between the shoulder blades. Don't pinch though. Drive the weight into your heels and stand up with a flat back. Keep the weight in your heels once you're at standing. Don't let it shift forward. Don't let the pelvis shift forward. Good. Nice. All the way up to standing, Kim, when you're ready. Good. Yep. Shoulders rolling back. We'll circle the arms out to the side. Stay facing the windows. Inhale, just the arms release, exhale. Follow your breath and create an orb, a sphere with your arms. As you circle the arms up, trace the sides of this giant balloon, cocoon, as your arms come down. Keep going as though you're fashioning a bubble. Enclosed, safe, quiet, beautiful space, a sanctuary. Good. And next time your arms are up, we're going to meet there. Sense the shape of your back. What is pushing forward? What is pushing backwards or sinking backwards? I want to eliminate those two feelings. Yeah, really nice. Good. Yep. The ribs right there is just right. Mm-hmm. And now the arms will just come out 5 inches out to the sides. So now you just have a larger gap between the hands and you're just checking the back. What and where's the weight? Weight in the heels, knees unlocked, chest lifted, but there's no pinching, arms a little wider. Same thing. Keep going a little wider, a little wider, a little wider. We're going to hold the arms with the palms, the hands above the height of the shoulders, turned to face me. This should feel like work in your biceps. Anyone? Not the tops of the shoulders? Are we okay? And we'll step the feet out wide and we'll turn your left foot out 90 degrees. We'll lift the toes, firm the legs, bend into your front knee, warrior 2. Is that knee tracking over the middle toes of the foot? Take it, your big giant ball in your arms, reverse warrior. Lift the ball up. Lift it up and over as you lunge into your front knee. Good. Turning, sculpting your chest. Yeah, good. Straighten the front leg. Last pose, standing pose on the other side. Right foot turns out, bend into the knee. Building that strength. The arms might be complaining here. Reverse warrior, lifting up and out and over, but then lunge into the knee. Very good. Beautiful. Sculpting the chest. Good. Straighten the front leg, lift back up to center. Set the ball down quietly. Heel toe the feet in towards each other slowly. And then slowly lower the knees to the floor. Turn to face the windows. Come onto the belly. Turn your head to one side, rest. Enjoy this near total contact with the earth. Breathe into the back body. Feel the breath give you buoyancy. Feel the release, the exhale, the softening. Right where you feel the breath start. The inhale starts there, the exhale returns there. Locate that place in your body. Some of us, it's gonna be somewhere, anywhere between the lowest part of the rib cage, maybe towards the navel, behind the navel, maybe a little lower than the navel, somewhere in that range. Let's imagine your legs begin there. And I want you to use your inhales to inflate your legs so that they get longer and they move away from that origin spot, as though someone were filling the balloon, like those animal shaped balloons at a kid's party. From that point, from the navel or so abouts, and then reach out, physically lift and reach out through each leg, making the legs longer, more full, more buoyant, taut without locking or crunching the knees, taut and reaching. And then imagine there's a weight at the very end of each balloon at the tips of the toes, and that pushes into the earth. Push the tips of the toes into the earth, inflate the legs, inflate the belly and the low back, and prop up to Sphinx. You're on your forearms for Sphinx, buoyant legs that are rooted down just through the toes. So the thighs almost want to lift off the floor. They don't actually lift, they're just working, straining, trying to lift away from the pelvis and lift away from the feet. Good. And then we lower back down and let those balloons take flight. Both legs lift up. If that pinches in the back, one leg at a time, and go for length. Lengthen your balloons away from you as you lift them up. Maybe the arms float out to the sides, and you can float your chest too. And you've got a weight on your belly anchoring you, and the rest of you is filled and energized with buoyant air, reaching, flying, floating. And then let go completely. Turn your head to the opposite side. All the tension leaves the edges of the balloon skin. Then you'll extend your healthiest arm out in front of you along the floor. And then if it's your left arm, you roll onto your left side to come onto your back. If it's your right arm, you roll towards your right arm to come onto your back. And just breathe here. Good. Right knee comes into chest. Hang on to it with both arms. Feeling the back flatten on that side. Full good. Very nice. Left hand hangs onto the outside of the right knee. Right arm releases out to the side. Pick your head up gently and shift it to your left. And then turn your head to relax and look at your right hand. Press the back of your right arm into the floor. Tone your belly. Take an inhale. Exhale, tone the belly more as you pull the leg across using your abdominals. The hand just follows. That leg, the lowest it'll go is parallel to the floor. The leg tries to float up and escape, but the hand gently holds it down. You should feel this in the outer thigh, hip, glute, not in your low back. Or if it's in the low back at all, it's an easy, pleasant stretch. If you want more sensation, straighten that top leg, but don't let it drop to the floor. Rebend the leg if it's straight. Roll back to center, center your hips, center everything. Left knee to your chest. Straighten the right leg along the floor. Squeeze the leg in using your arms until you can feel the leg relax, as though you're hugging your leg, and the leg releases its resistance. Gently lift the head, offset it to the right. Left arm out to the side. Let the head roll to the left, just with gravity. Look at your left fingers. Press the back of your left arm into the floor. Take an inhale. Exhale, corset the waist. Use your abdominals to roll to your outer right hip. The top knee ends out parallel to the floor at its lowest. It might be higher than that. That's fine. Push the knee lightly down. The knee tries to float up and escape. Stay focused on your hand, the wiggling fingers of your left hand. Good. Roll back to center. Center the whole body. Both knees into the chest. Massage the back. And then when you're ready, arms, legs straight, arms out to the side. And I'm going to come around and offer you Shavasana options. If you want a chair for your legs, raise your hand. I'll bring you a chair. Anyone want a bolster? Okay. Anyone want just a blanket under the knees? Blanket. Yep. Okay. Here. This is what I'm doing. You can use that for your head. Do you want one for warmth? Mm-hmm. And then raise a hand if you want me to put a blanket over you. Yep. I see you. A little wider with the arms, Kim. Like so that your shoulders can rest flatter on the ground. Yeah. I got you. I'll tell you the story of Fatima, the spinner in the tent. It's from the tales of the dervishes and the Sufis. Once in a city in the farthest west, there lived a girl called Fatima. She was the daughter of a prosperous spinner. One day her father said to her, "Come, daughter, we are going on a journey, for I have business in the islands of the Middle Sea. Perhaps you may find your way into a wonderful life." They set off and traveled from island to island, the father doing his trading while Fatima dreamt of the life that might be hers. One day, however, they were on the way to Crete when a storm blew up and the ship was wrecked. Fatima, only half conscious, was cast up on the seashore near Alexandria. Her father was dead and she was utterly destitute. She could only remember dimly her life until then, for her experience of the shipwreck and her exposure in the sea had utterly exhausted her. While she was wandering on the islands, a family of cloth makers found her. Although they were poor, they took her into their humble home and taught her their craft. Thus it was that she made a second life for herself. And within a year or two, she was happy and reconciled to her lot. But one day, When she was on the seashore, for some reason, a band of slave traders landed and carried her, along with other captives, away with them. Although she bitterly lamented her lot, Fatima found no sympathy from the slavers who took her to Istanbul and sold her as a slave. Her world had collapsed for the second time. Now it chanced that there were few buyers at the market. One of them was a man who was looking for slaves to work in his woodyard, where he made masts for ships. When he saw the dejection of the unfortunate Fatima, he decided to buy her, thinking that in this way, at least, he might be able to give her a slightly better life than if she were bought by someone else. He took Fatima to his home, intending to make her a serving maid for his wife. When he arrived at the house, however, he found that he had lost all his money in a cargo which had been captured by pirates. He could not afford workers, so he, Fatima, and his wife were left alone to work at the heavy labor of making masts. Fatima, grateful to her employer for rescuing her, worked so hard and so well that he gave her her freedom, and she became his trusted helper. Thus it was that she became comparatively happy in her third career. One day he said to her, Fatima, I want you to go with a cargo of ship's masts to Java as my agent and be sure that you sell them at a profit. She set off, but when the ship was off the coast of China, a typhoon wrecked it, and Fatima found herself again cast up on the seashore of a strange land. Once again, she wept bitterly, for she felt that nothing in her life was working in accordance with expectation. Whenever things seemed to be going well, something came and destroyed all her hopes. Why is it, she cried out for the third time, that whenever I try to do something, it comes to grief? Why should so many unfortunate things happen to me? But there was no answer. So she picked herself up from the sand and started to walk inland. Now, it so happened that nobody in China had heard of Fatima or knew anything about her troubles, but there was a legend that a certain stranger, a woman, would one day arrive there and that she would be able to make a tent for the emperor. And since there was as yet nobody in China who could make tents, everyone looked upon the fulfillment of this prediction with the liveliest anticipation. In order to make sure that this stranger, when she arrived, would not be missed, successive emperors of China had followed the custom of sending heralds once a year to all the towns and villages of the land, asking for any foreign woman to be produced at court. When Fatima stumbled into a town by the Chinese seashore, it was one such occasion. The people spoke to her through an interpreter and explained that she would have to go see the emperor. Lady, said the emperor when Fatima was brought before him, can you make a tent? She stopped and thought. I think so, said Fatima. She asked for rope, but there was none to be had. So remembering her time as a spinner, she collected flax and made ropes. Then she asked for stout cloth, but the Chinese had none of the kind which she needed. So drawing on her experience with the weavers of Alexandria, she made some stout tent cloth. Then she found that she needed tent poles, but there were none of the right quality in China. So Fatima, remembering how she had been trained by the wood fashioner of Istanbul, cunningly made stout tent poles. When these were ready, she racked her brains for memory of all the tents she had seen in her travels, and lo, a tent was made. When this wonder was revealed to the Emperor of China, he offered Fatima the fulfillment of any wish she cared to name. She chose to settle in China, where she married a handsome prince and where she remained in happiness, surrounded by her children until the end of her days. It was through these adventures that Fatima realized that what had happened and had appeared to be an unpleasant experience at the time, but turned out to be an essential part of the making of her ultimate happiness. So, as famously said in The Princess Bride, life is pain, princess. Anyone tells you that differently is trying to sell you something. So, this struggle, these unexpected things, our inability to be briefly joyful and then go back to our regular routine, it's been disrupted. But I suspect each of us has been washed ashore after a shipwreck one too many times. And we know how to rebuild and we have skills. And we know how to be focused. And Fatima's tale might tell us that we could even be hopeful, not naive, not inactive, not passive, but hopeful. So as you lay here washed ashore, some parts exhausted and some parts cleansed, see if you can gather your breath, gather your limbs, infuse your limbs with breath, with buoyancy, even as your skin softens, even as you use the support of the earth to bring your knees into your chest, to gather yourself to your center, hug the legs in. Good. And without twisting, staying true to your center line, true to your midline, we roll to one side, press up to an easy seat. Sit tall, chest open, broad and wide. Hands together in prayer position, thumbs to the third eye. Gather your insight and bow to your practice. Namaste. Thank you very much for being here. Mm-hmm. All right, class Friday at Grateful Yoga. Yeah, Grateful Yoga at 9:30 in the morning, and then Maktala here Saturday at 7. I'm sure the water will be back on. Take care of yourselves.